Welcome, everyone, to Swoon-Worthy, a podcast dedicated to movies and series set in historical time periods. Today, we are so excited to talk about Gladiator II, the long awaited sequel to the iconic 2000 film directed by Ridley Scott. And before we dig into Gladiator II, a note for our listeners: we are going to be throwing out spoilers all left and right. So make sure you either don't care about spoilers if you haven't seen the movie, or hopefully, you've seen the movie, you know what to expect here, and you enjoy all of the things we have to say. Now, we covered the OG film on the podcast earlier this season in anticipation of this new movie. It just hit theaters this past weekend, and yeah, we can't wait to talk about it. So, my name is Carly, and I'm here with my sister and co host, Kayla. And we are so happy to be joined by one of our frequent guest hosts, Stephanie, who you may remember from our Moulin Rouge, A Room with a View, and Sleepy Hollow episodes. So, hi, Stephanie.
Hi, thank you for having me once again.
Yes, we are so glad you're here. I know you're a huge Gladiator fan and the sequel. Stephanie, you and I, we've been chatting about this movie and leading up to its release. And I remember one of the trailers came out and you and I texted like a little skeptical, right? Um,
Yeah,
but now we've seen it, and I have to ask, thumbs up or thumbs down?
I'm gonna go thumbs up. Mercy.
Kayla, what about you?
Oh,
What? No. She fooled us. She went down, but no, Kayla, up. And I'm a thumbs up too. I think that this was a great sequel. What do you think, Steph?
yeah, I think so too. It was just a lot. It's a big movie and it's got some wild characters and storylines and action, and I think it's a lot to take in. I did see it twice this weekend,
Mhm.
and I will say after the second time I definitely appreciated it more and felt like it was a really solid sequel for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. A solid sequel. And that's interesting that you said there's a lot, because while watching it or after watching it, I did think the original movie did have a nice simplicity to it. It was kind of,
Mhm.
you agree, like pretty
Yeah.
straightforward, but still so captivating. So it's different. The sequel was different in that it was kind of crazy, but but good. Um, and sometimes the writing gets really lazy with these sequels, and we're in this era of like tons of sequels and reboots. So it was nice that this one was. I think it's nice that they put a lot into it. Do you agree that like sequels used to be maybe better than they've been lately, or I'm just throwing that out there?
I don't know. It just depends. I think they did a great job.
So, do you have any favorite, just totally off topic of Gladiator, in general, do you have any like sequel movies that you're like it outshone the original, or you think it's just as good as the original? Random question.
Oh,
Yes, Paddington 2. Oh, sorry.
there you go.
For me, definitely Paddington 2. I mean, Paddington 1 and Paddington 2 are both like perfect movies, but everyone loves Paddington 2 and it's just like the best.
I've heard so many good things about these and I still haven't seen them. It's a shame.
Mine is Home Alone 2. It's way better than the first one.
Yeah. Lost in New York City. I mean, come on.
I mean, so like we grew up watching the second one, and I always just thought it was like, even though it was Home Alone 2, I thought it was like the only one. And then I finally watched it with my husband like a couple years ago, and I was like, yeah, this is not as good.
I agree. Yeah, no, that's so true. And I have to say, not as good as the original, but a pretty solid sequel that comes to mind is The Mummy Returns.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. But all right, enough of that. So back to Gladiator 2. Just wanting to mention, directed by Ridley Scott, of course. He had to direct it. Story by David Scarpa, who also did Napoleon recently with Ridley Scott, and Peter Craig. So the Batman from 2022, Top Gun Maverick, Hunger Games, Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2. So that was interesting. So I know they really went in, dug into this story for the sequel, because they've had time. They've been looking at sequels for a long time, right, Steph?
Yeah, Top Gun Maverick, that's another good sequel that people like love.
Yeah.
Like people love that one. But yeah, I mean, I think Ridley Scott, I believe, said that he's been thinking about it for a long time and they decided like, oh, it's got to be Lucius. Like that's what we have to do. And I thought that's such a great idea, like to see where Lucius and I almost said Connie, but Lucilla, Connie Nielsen's character, to see where they are now. I think it's such a great idea.
Yes, and I think I read that they had originally gotten like Nick Cave of the Bad Seeds, to write some screenplay or something and develop, and that didn't pan out. And then also that they were thinking of having Russell Crowe's character come back to life somehow.
Oh no.
I'm glad they went with
Like
the
he's a
Lucius.
god, a Roman god.
Yeah. So I'm glad they stuck it out. They waited till they found the right story. And as you said, it's a focus on Lucius. And can we talk about the big reveal? Do we want to talk about the major plot point from the movie, the sequel? Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it yet, folks. You probably read about it. So Lucius was Maximus's son all along. And in our original podcast episode that we recorded weeks ago, Kayla said, "Could he be Maximus's son?" I go, "No, Kayla, no, that's not."
Oh, I knew that's what they were gonna do.
Yeah.
Made the most sense.
And I literally saw the spoiler thing in the trailer like the week after we recorded, and I was like, darn
How
it.
many premonitions have I had on this
Yeah,
podcast?
you're pretty good with premonitions. But Stephanie, what did you think about the whole this change up?
So I don't remember that from your podcast. I apologize. I did listen to it, but I don't remember that part of it. I thought that they alluded to it in the first one, to be honest.
Did okay.
The last thing he says before he dies is Lucius will be safe. He wouldn't care so much about him if he were not his son. Also, just the way, like the fondness that they have for each other, I feel like it's so much stronger than just like, an old flame or something. Like they
Mhm.
definitely had a deep bond, Lucilla and Maximus.
So you're also in the camp that Maximus knew that Lucius was his son.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely think so.
Well, I must be so just missing the point because I thought, I knew they were an old flame. What?
It's okay.
Oh, I knew they were, old flames and they had Lucilla and Maximus had a relationship, but I think the age thing threw me off because if their sons are both 8 years old, because remember in the first movie they say Lucius is 8. Oh, my son's 8 too. Like,
Oh, so he cheated on her. He cheated on his
or he
wife.
got married right after. I don't know. That to me threw me off.
Okay, that's a good point. I forgot that they mentioned that they're the same age. That's so true. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe it was kind of a mystery to him, but he definitely had a certain fondness for him, I feel like once he like met him, you
Agreed.
know.
Agreed. Yeah, maybe he came to realize it as he thought about it. I don't know, and met him. But
Mhm.
anyways, I think it worked well. I know some people on Instagram commenting on the trailer were just like, "Wait, what? How they can't do that? They can't change this." But I was skeptical, and then when I saw the movie, I was like, "No, it all makes sense." And like you said, Maximus's final words were about Lucius.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, so let's talk about some of the movie. This movie, it starts out with this huge war scene or battle scene, and the Romans are coming to attack Numidia, and we get to see the new general of the Roman army, played by Pedro Pascal, Acacius. What do you think, Steph?
Love of my life. He can do no wrong.
He can do no wrong, and you totally sympathize with this character. Like you can tell from the get-go, he's not like a bad guy.
Yeah, he doesn't have like evilness at all, like, coming out of him. He's very much like even though he is obviously a little violent, he kind of has like a kindness to him, and you can see that he's conflicted
Mhm.
about what he's doing.
Yeah, like that was very telling for me when there were the grieving people at the end of the battle scene, the wailers, and he was just, yeah, conflicted, like troubled.
Yeah, the pain in his eyes for sure.
Yeah.
Really quickly, I just want to mention the opening credits
Oh,
were
yes. Oh
so
my
cool.
gosh. Yes. The art.
Yes, I was not expecting that. It was so beautiful. I loved it.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Like, I think I turned to Kayla because we saw it together yesterday, and it was it gets you into the movie, pulls you in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I loved how they really just from the very beginning were like referenced the first movie. Like I hate when sequels just don't act like they're not even relating to those original. Like that's just offensive, you know?
Yeah, it was almost like a recap, like a beautiful little recap of the first movie. It was so cool. I
Very
loved it.
artistically done, cleverly done. And then you see Lucius farming with his wife. They go to battle together. I like the female fighters in this. But as we know, she does not make it.
Hmm.
I knew it. The second I saw her, I'm like, oh, she's about to die.
Oh, poor thing.
Yes. She was so beautiful. I saw her on the red carpet at one of the premieres, and she's like unreal, like so beautiful.
Her eyes were just wow. Yeah, Arashot, I think was the character name. And
Hmm.
and Lucius, he's not even going by Lucius right now. He's Hano.
Hmm.
Interesting name. It's not, it doesn't really stick with you. Maybe it's meant to just not stick with you because you want to, is that what you're thinking, Steph?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what they were saying because it was kind of hard with all the different accents in the film. I think it is Hano, but yeah, I kind of wish like we didn't know going into this that he is Lucius, you know? I mean, they revealed a lot about this movie before it came out. I think we would have all figured it out, but still, it would have been cool not to know that he's Lucius and to like go through the first half of the film not knowing, you know?
Right. Like to see when he's become a gladiator and when Lucilla watches him and observes him and she knows and her face, her acting was so great in that scene. And that would have been a really cool moment. You're right.
I mean, there's probably some people who didn't look into that at all and were just like, I'll go see it. I think I saw the first one a few times and they're like, oh, okay.
That's a really good point. I forget I'm like chronically online, so I like knew everything about this.
That's true. That's true. But let's see, what else did let's get into some of the other characters. So we were talking a bit about Pedro Pascal's character, Acacius, and he's married to Lucilla now.
Hmm.
They were a lovely couple. Pretty couple.
Yeah. So interesting. Like, I wonder how they met. Like, why did she marry again? Did she marry someone else before him?
She probably
You
had
know,
to
after Columbus died?
she probably had to do it for protection,
Yeah, but they seem to be genuinely into each other and like on the same like way of thinking.
like the
A bit
rebel side,
rebellious, a
Star
bit.
Wars rebels.
And now let's just talk about, we'll save Denzel a moment. We'll talk about the emperors, the twin emperors, and all the crazy there. So, Steph, do you want to give us their actor names and all that?
Yeah, so this movie is like my version of Kayla casting Jacob Elordi and everything. Like the casting of this film, it's just everything to me. And Joseph Quinn is one of my absolute favorite actors right now. He's just incredible. And he plays Emperor Gaeta. Gaeta, not in my Texas accent, Gaeta. Um, and then Fred Heckinger plays Emperor Caracalla, and they are twins in this. I think in real life they were not twins. I think there may have been a little bit of an age difference,
Okay.
but yeah, they play twins. And the so Joseph Quinn, the character Gaeta, he's a little more of like the older brother type. Like he kind of is in charge. And Caracalla is we learn that he has a disease that is going to his brain, so he's a little more unhinged, I guess you could say. And we kind of see that right off the bat, honestly. And it's yeah, it's I love them.
Oh,
I have to say, I wanted more of them. Where
Yeah.
were they? Like, come on, I want some crazy scenes. The buildup for these two on social media, and then I was like, I need more crazy.
I know, because we know they can do it. We know Joseph Quinn can do it for sure. So yeah, I wanted to see them like pop off. And especially because Commodus was such a great villain, you know, like, oh, he was so good. And I feel like they just didn't get the story, you know, they didn't get, you know, all of the screen time and the backstory and everything. They still made a really big impact, and I loved them. I loved every second, but I wanted more of them too.
Yeah. I mean, there might be some deleted scenes we'll eventually get from Ridley Scott, but yeah, I was really expecting behind like more behind the curtain of them because as you said, we see Joaquin Phoenix's crazy character more, not just when he's out in the
Mhm.
spotlight. And yeah, but they were interesting to say the least. Um, and Joseph Quinn, I know we saw him in Stranger Things. That's when he
Mhm.
really got really famous.
Yeah.
Um, but before that, he's been in some period dramas, so I wanted to call that out. So Howard's End,
I forget, like 2017 or 18 or
right? Yeah, Howard's End 2017, Les Mis 2012.
something.
No, no, the
Mhm.
series 2019, the miniseries Les Mis. Um, yeah, so he's kind of got the period drama thing. I would love to see him in more. And
Mhm.
then Fred Heckinger, is that how you pronounce it?
Heckinger.
Heckinger, The White Lotus season one.
Yeah, he's great in that. Also, Thelma. If you haven't seen Thelma, it came out this year. One of my absolute favorite movies of the year. It's so good, and
Oh,
he's so great in it.
I mean, he kind of really did some amazing scenes after he killed his brother. You really got to see him shine. And
Mhm.
the monkey, we got to talk about the sweet little
Yes,
monkey. Uh,
Dundas,
Done.
played by Sherry.
Yeah.
And Fred Heckinger, he like talks about her in every single interview, and he talks about her with such love. And he says that it's her first movie, and he had to go through all this monkey training, and he talks about some choices that she made, some little improvisation at certain points that were quite pivotal, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That was so cute. And I think Kayla, you and I were talking like, at least he loves his monkey. I mean, even the craziest, most evil person, they might love an animal, is what I was thinking. They can care for an animal.
yeah, definitely.
I mean, he even appointed him as a
I
representative.
loved that part. That was hilarious.
That was
Everyone was
great.
like, what's happening?
We were
Yeah.
laughing. So great. And then I guess now is, oh wait, one more thing. I heard Barry Keoghan was going to be cast as one of the emperors.
Yes, I wanted to mention that. He was supposed to play Caracalla, and then he had to drop out, and that's when Fred Heckinger came in.
Yeah. So that would have been interesting.
Yeah, it definitely would have been. I'm sure he would have done a fantastic job. We all know Barry Keoghan is great, but I love the way that it ended up. I think it was perfect casting, and I just loved the way that they looked too. The emperors just had such a cool look with all the colors and their ginger hair.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I just wanted more of them. Kayla's probably like, no, they could.
Well, I feel like Denzel, he had to have his time too, so they couldn't give him too much time.
Yeah, we had a lot of characters here. So let's talk about Denzel as Macrinus, an arms dealer, gladiator trader, definitely a power hungry social climber.
Yes.
Excellent acting, of course. We couldn't have expected less from a two-time Oscar winner. Um, I think in an interview I saw, he said this was his biggest film he's ever done budget-wise.
Crazy. Yeah, so crazy. Can we talk about his robe acting for a second?
Yeah,
He was like,
He was, yes, he was working those robes. It was so great. Like, he was so flamboyant in this. I loved it.
the earrings and the jewelry. And yeah, like when he'd sit down, he'd had to adjust his robe. I
Yes.
mean, at first I was kind of taken aback. I was like, is he having like a wardrobe malfunction? But then I was like, no, this is part of his shtick.
it was giving me Nicole Kidman sweater vibes.
What is this?
You know how like every movie she's in, she like puts a sweater on and she goes like this, like,
There must be a video out there I need to see.
oh yeah, there's memes and stuff.
Oh, that's funny. So, and some of the senators are wearing, and other people are wearing the fabrics, these beautiful fabrics. And I feel like, um, what is it? the clothes are wearing them. They're not wearing the clothes. You know what I mean? It's a little too much, but Denzel carries it off. And of course, Connie Nielsen. Perfect.
Yes.
No, everyone blended into the time period so well. Like I really felt like I was watching people from the Roman times.
Yeah, so let's talk about costume design. So frequent Ridley Scott collaborators, Janty Yates. Have you heard this name pronounced that way? Janty Yates?
I haven't heard it pronounced at all, but I think that's correct.
And David Crossman, so specializing in the military costumes and worked with Yates on Napoleon. But Janty Yates, I mean, all of them. So from Robin Hood, the original Gladiator, all of all of them.
Yeah.
The Last Duel. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the costumes. I mean, we could talk forever about the costumes. They were so beautiful. Sorry, my refrigerator is making a loud noise. Anyways, we could talk forever about the costumes. They're just so incredible. I loved even like in the opening part with the hand woven armor that Paul was wearing. It was so cool. All the different armor pieces that they were wearing. And then like the big reveal of the emperors and Pedro in the white and gold. Like
Those are
just oh yeah.
the
So
white.
cool.
And then the last outfit that Lucilla wears, the white, the it's like the quintessential Roman draping white with the gold embellishments. Like that was the most beautiful gown. Oh my gosh, I'm in love.
Yes, it was really beautiful. Sorry, I talked over you.
Okay. So beautiful. And then Steph, you sent me that article from Vogue and talking about how they were drawing from the paintings of 19th century. So if you think Jane Austen times, they were obsessed with the Roman Empire, and you probably see that influence.
And that's a good point. I didn't know that they were obsessed with the Roman Empire back then. I mean, it makes sense. People are still obsessed with it, but yeah, I thought that article was very interesting. It was really cool to see how they used color and how they had to source all the materials. And they even found the original armor piece, or one of the originals that Russell Crowe wore to make the one for Paul that he wears in the end. That's super cool. I think it was being auctioned off or something.
And you're talking about the one with the two horses?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I mean, first off, that gave me like goosebumps when they bring that back into the storyline because I don't know, it just felt so like a memory, like such a nostalgic moment to see that. And then that's where they played the scene, Kayla, of him talking to young Lucius
Yes.
with the arm explaining his horses, his armor. And so is that and in that scene we had the original Lucius, Spencer Treat Clark, I believe. So I think that's probably why he's still on IMDb for this movie. But as you know, they got Paul Mescal to play the grown-up Lucius. We still have to talk more about Paul Mescal. What did you think about that? They did flashback scenes and they had a different little boy actor.
I know. I thought that was crazy. I wanted to look a little more into it and see like how they found him because he looks just like the original boy. I thought that was impressive.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I almost wish they did something different. I didn't think he looked too much like him. What do you think, Kayla?
It didn't matter.
Kayla doesn't care. I I like I think maybe because I saw the original so recently, I was like,
I think the original one has a very distinct look, and he had like really like he just had a very unique look. And this one, he just kind of looked like a normal kid. Like, he blended in more.
He blended in more. I don't know. I almost wish they had not shown his face in the flashbacks. First off, the flashback scene. So there was one flashback scene where it showed him as a little boy kind of running around. I thought that scene was useless. I didn't get it. I didn't see how it made a difference. And then the second scene, we see him, Connie Nielsen, Lucilla running off with him immediately after Maximus dies. So I see why that scene was needed, but I almost felt like I don't know. I'm troubled by this. Maybe I'm just overthinking it.
They should have used CGI or something.
I'm surprised they didn't, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That never really pays off as well. I thought it was great. I do see your point for sure, but I thought he looked just like him and I understood what they were doing. I think they were doing it to show us that they did go into hiding and then he had to be sent away. You
Mhm.
know, it was important to know like how did Lucius become Hanno or Hanno,
Mhm.
you know? And so we get to see how that happened.
But then they didn't even explain why he had to be sent away. So I guess afraid of assassins is what I'm reading. But I almost felt like why wouldn't he be the regent? Like, why couldn't he be the emperor and Lucilla be the regent?
Well, I think because back then there was such power, there was such, political moves always trying to happen. And he was such a young boy, like he didn't have that strength to like take charge. So like she was worried someone was gonna try to kill him and like just take over,
Mm. I guess I'm just thinking of all the regencies we've had, and why couldn't he have?
There was less order back then. It was more
Okay, chaos.
just like conquering and
Yeah, okay,
power
you're right.
play and stuff like that.
And then I'm dying to know how these two emperors got into the throne because, wow.
Yeah, I wanted to know that too. And I know like they're not really historically accurate at all, but I tried to read more about like the actual emperors and they were not in power for very long.
Okay. It was a fluke, maybe. But yeah, and it's kind of maybe they made them twins to be more like Romulus and Remus kind of thing, the history. Anyways, okay, so Paul Mescal took over the role. Long story short, I mean, he was giving Russell Crowe vibes. I feel like he spoke like him a bit. He ran like him. What do you think about Paul Mescal in this role? He really is supposed to be the star of the show, and we haven't talked too much about him.
That's so true. We haven't. And it is Paul Mescal,
Oh my gosh,
just
I'm
so
pronouncing
you know.
it wrong this
I
whole
was like, that
time.
sounds like a nice wine.
Mezcal.
Moscow.
Oh my
No,
God.
everyone says it that way, but I know he's like corrected some people like in a very respectful way, and it's mescal.
You're the pronunciation queen, so I gotta, thank you for telling me. Mezcal.
I'm just online a lot. That's all it is. But yeah, I mean, he was great. I love Paul so much. I've seen almost everything he's been in. Most of everything he's in is like totally devastating. He's in like very depressing stuff. Um, but he's an incredible actor, and this was a big departure for him. And like you said, I feel like he looks like a mixture of Lucilla and Russell Crowe. I think he really embodied like this warrior, that he has, but also there's like a quietness to him, just like there was for Russell Crowe in the first one. So yeah, I thought he did great.
I did too. I was afraid that he wasn't going to be as big of a presence on screen as Russell Crowe, but definitely changed my mind. And his legs are getting a lot of attention, his body. I mean, excellent, work for the physical acting too that he had to go through and physical training. Um, and what was I going to say? And do you know what one of my favorite scenes was when he was getting high on opium and he was smiling and being goofy a little bit with the doctor.
That's funny. He was like,
He was goofy. I loved that.
Have you guys seen anything that he's been in, like Normal People or All of Us Strangers? None of it.
They're on my list and I just haven't.
I almost started watching Normal People, but I was like, eh.
I mean, I know him and Daisy Edgar Jones were just like catapulted into fame and have received so much accolades for those roles.
I know that people think he secretly is in love with her.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that they belong together, but they're just friends. They're very good friends. But yeah, I recommend any Paul project. He's great, but just be prepared for them to be depressing.
Yeah, yeah, which I'm fine with. I like those kinds of things. But yeah, so I haven't really seen much with him and definitely going to start watching more. I need to watch Normal People. All right. What about some of these supporting actors? So we have Matt Lucas as the master of ceremonies. That was like a surprise.
Yeah, it's always crazy to see him. He is a great actor. He's definitely my least favorite Great British Baking Show host of all time, but you know, he's a great actor.
Null all the way.
No supremacy.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then, of course, we had Sir Derek Jacobi reprising his role as Senator Gracchus. Tim McInerney, do you know how to say his last name? Tim
I
McInerney?
don't. I
Si-
don't.
So Senator Thrax,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
that one. I swear, I was like, I know that he wasn't in the original, but I've seen him in this get up before. And I looked back and he's been in so many period dramas. And I think I'm getting confused. He was in Harlots with some makeup and powder and stuff. But that was a good character too. I think fit really well with the storyline.
Yeah, he had some fun moments with Denzel, so that was fun. And it was cool to see Derek Jacobi again. I didn't know he was going to be in it, but he looked exactly the same from the first one. It was really cool to see him.
Even age. And then towards the beginning, Peter Mensa, if you would have recognized him, he was in 300 and Hidalgo. He was like, he died in the battle at the beginning. Oh no, he died the first thing with the gladiator. He was friends with um
Oh,
Hano.
I hated that. That was so
I
sad.
know. Caleb's like, he didn't stand a chance.
Those damn monkeys. Those were horrifying.
That was awful. I hated that scene so much. The animal brutality in this time period is just, it's awful. But yeah, those baboons were awful.
Yeah.
And I feel like after you got through the baboon scene, they didn't have the same. I mean, well, there was the rhino, but I feel like was there a bit more animal fighting in the first one?
I don't know. I guess there was like the tigers and stuff like that. I don't know. I feel like this movie, I had read just like a snippet that there was like potential animal cruelty on the set, which I truly hope is not. I don't think that's true at all. And I read that Ridley Scott loves animals, which made me feel better, especially horses. And it's scary to see horses like falling and stuff in all of these battle scenes. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. Maybe some of it got cut out. I mean, we did get sharks, so.
I loved the water battle scene. At first, when I saw the trailer, I was like, wait a second, are they just going totally crazy? But it was true that they filled the Coliseum with water.
Yeah, so crazy. Also, that scene was so immersive. Like you were in it, which
Mm.
is so crazy.
Yeah, it was like right there with the rowing and the hitting each other with the ships. And yeah, so cool. So apparently, they would do mock battle scenes and things in the Coliseum. That was pretty epic. Um, I love Kayla and we love shark movies, so that was kind of fun.
I love the shark scene. That was so cool. They were like on the battleships. It was like, whoa, like I thought it looked like there was a lot of CGI animals.
Yeah, and like less real.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I thought the same thing. And I mean, it sounds like Sherry was very well taken care of as Dundas. So,
All right. So we've been really talking about a lot of the characters and their moments, but we haven't been going through the storyline linearly, but that's fine. Also, I feel like that's harder for us to do when we haven't seen the movie over and over again, right?
mhm.
So new. But anything else scene wise, plot wise?
I hated that little sneaky maid of what's her name?
Lucilla.
Lucilla. I was like, bitch, get away. Like, what are you doing? Like, why did she do that? I guess she was paid by the twins to like be a sneak or something.
I don't know, but she went to Senator Thrax, I think, with the news.
Oh, that's right. Maybe he paid.
Yeah, well, I think Acacius and Lucilla were like under house arrest. Like I think they were kind of forced to be where they are and guarded and everything. So I think they were being watched anyways. But yes, I've seen some really funny TikToks about her.
She was like very sly, and Kayla was just like, oh, I could hear you
Oh,
fuming.
the first time she was like, no, you can go. Like, we have stuff to talk about. I was like, I know that lady's gonna
Uh-huh.
later on. She's gonna wait. What are the TikToks about her?
Just like people acting like they're sneaking like she is, and she's so bad at it, like
But she would
like her whole
be
yeah, her whole body was like out. It's so funny.
That's so funny. So Kayla and I giggled throughout the movie at some random things. So speaking of kind of that scene where it was kind of the first time you're seeing Lucilla and Acacius interact, and it like ended the scene, cut to the two cute dogs, and one of them
Well,
like
no. It ended the scene with them like kissing, and it was like a very intimate moment. And then the next cut was the two dogs, and they were like, it was just like, what does
Why?
that mean?
It was a weird moment timing wise. Maybe it was the silence in the theater, who knows, but it hit us funny.
It's like, why are the dogs sad? Like, what's going on?
I don't know. And there was just some funny moments. Okay, Denzel's hand getting cut off at the end. I cracked up.
Like the blood was going everywhere.
I was like, am I just desensitized or what? This is making me laugh.
Oh yeah, hard. And the severed head, and he was squishing it around and like spinning it. And Carly was like, "Okay, stop!" Like it was like,
yes, it was like squelching. Like it was so gross. Yeah, what do you think Joseph Quinn felt when he was watching that and they did that close up on his head?
So strange, so strange. Like I was thinking that too. I was actually thinking of him watching it himself.
Yeah,
decapitated. Oh my gosh. I found all these funny things and I deleted them. But yeah, so
basically trash.
No, it's anywho, yeah, so we were kind of giggly.
We had an espresso martini.
We did drink an espresso martini at the movie theater together. But it was just the right amount of like, where the little silly things would kind of make us laugh.
The dog thing was so funny.
I don't know why we thought that was so funny.
No, that is funny.
It was like, what does that mean?
Yeah. A couple, other scenes. I loved the doctor scenes. Obviously, not the gross parts of actually cleaning the wound, but I love that actor, Alexander Karim, guessing that's his name, played Ravi. And he was like a therapist, confidant, doctor, very attractive. I like that. Okay.
I like that.
Oh my gosh. And just the whole, taking the ring to the army, like so perfect, because I was thinking about how in the original movie, that whole plan of Maximus's to go get the army to rally the troops failed miserably. So I was like, yes, he's actually getting out there to the army and getting them there. I mean, it was successful, and I was so happy.
Yeah, it was cool. And to see that he trusted Lucius, when he immediately when he found out who he was, it's like he believed him and he kind of knew all along that he was special. I just thought that was really cool too.
Yes. And taking him to Maximus's, grave or memorial thing. It's very cool. And that quote that's, on where Maximus is, the quote that he shared with Lucius that was also on the grave marker, what we do in life echoes in eternity, I believe.
Yes, and the way it was like written in English, like exactly the way we would write it, that cracked me up. I was like, okay, guys.
There you go. Perfect. Perfect for us to read it. Yeah, and all the armor was there, the sword and knife and sheath. That was just so cool. Macrinus. Did you wonder throughout the movie, well, if he was good or bad, or did you know instantly he was just like gonna be the main baddie? Like, what did you think?
I felt he was a baddie right away because he was dressed so well. Like baddies always look the best, I feel like. But yeah, he kind of gave off evil vibes, but I didn't know how evil. Like
Right.
I was very surprised by how evil he was.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Kayla, I think we thought that
I thought he was just a pot stirrer.
Yeah.
Like I thought he was just trying to like be like in the middle of everything, but it turns out he had ulterior motives.
Yeah, and then I was thinking back afterwards, of course, I didn't catch it sooner. He was always talking about revenge and rage with Lucius. So it makes sense that he himself was plotting this big revenge, with Lucilla and Marcus Aurelius.
On one hand, you root for him a little bit because he was a slave and you understand where he's coming from and you want him to have that power. But he kind of went a little too crazy.
Yeah, yeah, like it's always good to see like the underdog make it to the top. So if he
Mm.
were elected, but he went about it, in a maniacal way.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's just out for himself. What
Yeah,
everybody else wanted to like have the better of Rome for everyone else.
the dream. Yeah, he was like,
Mm.
I'm not a dreamer. It's about truth and realism for me, which, makes sense. But when he shot Lucilla, it's like,
I know.
no.
But she didn't
I
care.
know.
You could tell she just all she cared was that Lucius was gonna be okay and that he was gonna become the savior of Rome.
And talk about a beautiful death. That would be like, that's how I want to die. Put me in a beautiful white dress, roll me out.
That was like the best way to go. Like
Just and then a beautiful shot in the heart. I mean,
Yes.
iconic.
In the arms of Paul Mescal.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So that was beautifully done, but sad. And is there any chance she lived because we never saw her
I know I almost thought because there was like blood trails and I thought he was gonna find her. Like, like she had
like have a
crawled
closure
away.
moment
Or just
Mhm.
like
or she was
or she
alive?
was okay. Like
What do you think, Steph?
Yeah, I mean, I think she definitely was dead, but I don't know, maybe she wasn't. He seemed pretty upset at the end. So
And
I
I,
think
I'm sorry.
no, I was just gonna say I do think she was dead. Also, after you finish your thought, can we talk about all the deaths?
Yes, you talk about, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was just thinking about that. Um, but we didn't see so earlier when Hano, I guess, his wife dies, and we get to see the whole, underground, the part of the underworld fairy scene, kind of the deaths. But I was almost thinking they were going to put Lucilla in that context and have her, and that would have been like closure, like she's
Mm.
finally passing and going on to the hereafter. And we didn't see that. So that's where I'm like,
I
is there a
know.
glimmer of hope? I don't know.
Maybe so. I didn't think about that.
So what about the other deaths? I mean, some of our favorite characters, whether they were crazy or not, died.
Yeah, when Acacius died, were you expecting that? Did you know he was going to die? Because I kind of did. Like, I wasn't even really sad about it because I was like, oh yeah, I knew this was going to happen.
His also was an epic death, and it turned the public against, the emperors and all of that.
Mhm.
Um, Lots of arrows struck him, and I'm glad because Lucius kind of like had a forgiving moment there with him.
Mhm.
Yeah, that definitely like the tables turned big time right there, which that was kind of silly. Another kind of silly moment in the script where it's like, oh, he just changed his mind all of a sudden. But I do think it was powerful and it worked. And yeah, like you said, it was an epic death. And Pedro has had a lot of epic deaths
Hmm.
in TV and film. He's had his eyes gouged out a couple of times, once by Denzel actually, and yeah, he's had a lot of great deaths, and this is just going to add to them.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yep. Yeah.
But hopefully not in The Mandalorian. Um,
No, he can't die.
no, he's got to protect Grogu forever. But yeah, no, I thought that was, and I'm just picturing him in that white and gold armor, like that's living rent free in my head, and then Lucilla's gowns as well. But and then I was sad when Joseph Quinn's character died so soon. I was like, no, I need more.
I know. That was such a crazy scene too. Like I was not expecting that. It was crazy.
Totally crazy. But Macronus played the brothers against each other.
Yeah, sure did. And the music, we haven't talked about the music yet, but the music during scenes like that was just so good. I loved the music in this.
Yeah, and I know it wasn't our original music.
Yeah, it was not Hans Zimmer, although they used some of the, themes, of course. But yeah, it was Harry Gregson Williams who did the score.
Kayla loved the end credit song.
I love that
She was
song.
swooning over that song as we walked
Yeah,
out.
Yeah. It's so
it's
cool.
the same song
Yes.
from the first one.
Gladiator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they did great with the intro and the ending and all the scenes in between. I mean, we could probably do a whole episode, like let's watch this movie 10 more times, do another episode and do a linear breakdown. Like there was so
Hmm.
much to digest. I also want to see it a second time stuff. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been waiting for this for so long. Although it was like a really quick turnaround time, I will say. Like they just finished filming it not that long ago.
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah.
But
Hmm.
it still feel like I've been waiting my whole life for it. So I'm probably going to see it again.
Yeah. Very well done. Some of the cityscape, of Rome scenes I thought were really well done because I know they did some great set pieces, some impressive, budgets. I'm not explaining. They had an impressive budget so they could build some great set pieces, but I'm sure they used some CGI, but it felt so real and like took me back in time. And I was just impressed by that. Because sometimes you see something and you're like, that is so lame looking. This was wow. I was blown away.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
it felt a return to the good old days of movies.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say like the good old days of Rome.
Oh,
The
like you
13.
know how back in the early 2000s, like movies were just, it just seems like they were better back then. I don't know. Like the
Yeah.
big blockbuster
Mhm.
movies were better.
Yeah, no, we definitely talk about that on the podcast here.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Hmm.
Agreed.
And
And
also, Ridley Scott is 86 years old. How crazy is that?
wow. Yeah, I saw a recent pic of him and I was like, and then a younger pic of him and I was like, whoa.
Mhm. Yeah.
But this was great. This movie exceeded my expectations. I think because I was kind of hesitant going into it. I had read some reviews, and so sometimes that works out because I go in thinking a little cynically, and then it just kind of blows me away as a overall piece. And I think it was great.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of haters online for sure. A lot of people who don't like it and thought it was terrible. But I think any sequel is going to get that, to be honest.
But what are their
You
reasons?
know? Well, I told Carly I saw one review where he said that some scenes were like straight off the CW, like
Yeah,
like really bad acting,
like
basically.
Gossip Girl. I think Gossip Girl plots River.
Oh,
Right. But yeah, a lot of people think the acting was not great and that just the story was stupid. But I totally disagree. And
yeah.
I disagree. I loved it. I loved when they were plotting the rebellion with the senators underground. I love that little secret passageway. um, and then, the emperor kind of making, chaining her up to watch this whole battle between Lucius and her husband, lover,
Mhm.
Acacius. I mean, I think the plot, the story, the writing exceeded my expectations. And then crazy characters, wild characters. That's what I've seen on the reviews that regardless, the characters are fun and it's a fun watch. But I would go as far and say that the plot worked well.
Yeah, I feel like it did justice to the first one, like it built on that story. It didn't just like, I hate when they completely change it. It's
Mhm.
like what? Like, that doesn't even
But
relate.
it's a
But
fine line between paying homage and respecting the original and bringing elements in, and then just complete fan service,
yeah.
which
Mhm.
sometimes movies fall into that category and don't work. So
I think it did a great job.
balanced. Yeah.
Well, one thing I wanted to mention that I read, Pedro said that in that opening battle scene, like right when the drawbridge goes down on the first take, when he came off the drawbridge, he like fell down. And I just think that's really funny. And I hope we get video of that. I bet we will. But love that.
Oh my gosh.
And oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say just Pedro Pascal, like focusing on him for a moment again, like interviews with him. I know they're just the best.
I mean, I've never loved anyone as much as I love him.
Such a
Yeah.
genuine, kind soul, like funny, wonderful.
Yeah, all the interviews too with the whole cast, you can tell they really love each other and enjoyed spending time with each other.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and
I
Connie
like.
Nielsen in all the interviews. I mean, such a regal beauty. Like, wow.
Yeah,
I
she's so beautiful.
She's aged like a fine wine.
she just, I mean, some of her scenes, I was just entranced. I was in love. Like, I'm,
Oh, well,
I'm just like,
Mhm.
no, I don't know. I just love her character so much. And
Do we think Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix are seeing this?
ooh, I like that question.
I saw an interview with Russell Crowe, and he was just like, "Well, obviously I won't be in it because I died," but he was like, "But yeah, I think it's going to be great," you know.
Yeah.
So
Oh, good. That's
Yeah.
good to hear that he's supportive. Who knows what Joaquin thinks?
he's in his own world.
He's in his own world with Rooney Mara.
Oh, have y'all seen the funny memes of? You've seen Signs, of course, where when he's hammering the window boards on, and he's like doing some weird motion, and it's like that's what like have you never hammered something before? It's just funny.
Oh my God. Probably never has.
I know. That's what people said. They're like, he's been in like movies since he was young. Like he probably never worked a day in his life.
Oh my
Yeah,
God. But love,
probably not.
but I mean, Commodus, that character is just so iconic,
I
unforgettable.
know.
So good. Yeah, I can't believe he was so young in that. Like, I wouldn't have thought that until I listened to your podcast episode because
Mhm.
it had been a while since I'd watched it. And yeah, he was just so, so good.
So good. I
So
mean,
creepy and
mhm,
good.
perfect. Passenger
Yeah.
Princess, if you listen
Yeah.
to her.
The ultimate passenger
There
princess.
you go. Oh, goodness. Okay. Do we think there's going to be a third with Lucius's character?
I will say no, just because well, unless Ridley Scott does not direct it, which I don't think should happen, but I mean, he's 86. I don't see it happening again. We'll see.
Yeah. It's sometimes nice to think of, imagine him taking over and changing Rome, and it'll just be kind of nice in our, imagination.
Yeah, I feel like another one would be like, okay, like they've been at this for a long time. Like it's time for Rome to be in a good place.
At peace.
Like here we go again, another guy trying to destroy Rome. Like
Yeah, they need a break. But they really like these gladiator battles and gruesome, like, what a violent public to watch these.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like these people really enjoyed this, and it's just brutal.
So brutal. It made me think of how in period dramas there's always like the hanging scenes. Like everyone goes out to the hanging, the children, the women. I'm like, how can you, or the gallows, how can you do that?
I know. Ugh.
So crazy.
All right.
Also, oh, sorry. You were asking about like other random scenes. I just wanted to talk about this scene with Dundas and with Caracalla and Macrinus. And it was sort of a pivotal scene, right? Like this is Macrinus's like final move to like take over. And the monkey Dundas literally jumps to him. She wasn't supposed to do that, but she did. And it's almost like in that moment he was like, "Oh, I'm going to use the monkey." You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just thought that was really cool.
No, I mean, animal acting is so unpredictable as that, that interview went, and too cool. And then the actors just have to really go with the flow, improvise.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
Denzel was a scene stealer in this. I mean, I think he's going to come away from this. Who knows? Do you think he's going to get an Oscar nom?
I was going to say, do you think we'll get any Oscar noms out of this? I think he will be nominated for Best Supporting Actor for sure.
Yeah, I can see it. Um, I don't know. And Golden Globes, there's always a little more room there. I would love for Connie Nielsen to get as you know, I'm kind of fangirling over her right now.
Yeah.
Who else do
I
we
think
think?
Mescal. I think he could get it.
You think so? Golden Globe at least.
Yeah, there's been so many good movies this year. This is a really good year for movies. But yeah, like you said, Golden Globes gives a little more wiggle room. Wicked won't be against it. It'll be in another category, so that gives them a chance. But yeah, I feel like Paul potentially could. I definitely think Denzel, and then of course costumes and set design, I think, and the special
Oh,
effects.
Oh yeah.
In music, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see when it, I mean, it's the right time too for it to come out for the Oscars. This is fall. This is when we're gonna get all the really heavy hitters. But we'll see. Final scene moment that I want to take away from Lucilla is I want to carry around some sprigs of lavender with
Mm-hmm.
me and just kind of it'll be my new accessory when I'm feeling anxious. I'll just be
I know. I was like, why haven't I been doing this?
Yes. It was so glamorous, but had a purpose, right?
I know, I love how her mannerisms, like she just looks so sweet. Like she
oh,
was always just like this, like
regal. When she went and told Lucius, I mean, the whole scene, she killed it when she was telling Lucius, apologizing and just why she did it and that she knew it was him and his reaction, he was lying through his teeth that it was so crazy. That was a good scene.
yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah, he knew.
but he just couldn't admit it. But then everything he said was like, okay, he obviously, you know.
Yeah. And you know, she was like thinking about going to see Maximus too, because she did the same thing, going to see him and
Mhm.
reconnecting with him. So it's really cool. I loved it.
Yay. Okay. Thank you all for tuning in to our podcast episode on Gladiator II. It just came out. I'm sure if you're listening, you went and saw it in theaters. If not, hopefully we are encouraging you to go out there and see it. And yeah, we're giving it a thumbs up all the way. So let us know your take in the comments of our Instagram posts, comments on Spotify or wherever you're listening to this podcast. We'd love to hear your feedback on the movie and this episode. Do you agree with us? What do you think about our commentary here? So, thank you, Stephanie, for joining us again. You are our favorite. We appreciate your time and your insights.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was the best.
Yeah. And Kayla, we have just finished season 3. This is our finale of season 3. This means that we've done 36 podcast episodes together.
Wow.
Pretty crazy.
Why don't you guys let us know what was your favorite episode we've ever done? And also go ahead and leave us a review on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, it'll help us out for next season when we're selecting our episodes. And I just have to say, I keep getting feedback, Steph, that Moulin Rouge was a winner from season 2, which you co-hosted. So we'll definitely be bringing you back in the next season.
Yay. I'm excited.
And you guys let us know if you have a movie y'all want us to cover in season 4.
Coming back in 2025. All right. So thank you so much again and catch you next time. Bye.